And I guarantee you, right, had that video not surfaced where we can take our two eyes and see where the police would have cold-bloodedly murdered Buju right then and there, we would have said that as something she do and she must involve in a something, and that's why she did. I fear a fact why she did. Welcome back to another episode of JATalks. My name is Jasam, and so we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So we're as promised, I'm following up on the May situation with Angela Brown Burke and Juliet Holness. What Angela Brown Burke came back and said, and what Juliet Holness said about the disrespect that she has been getting in Parliament. Also, we're going to talk about Nikisha Burchell and no Patois in the Parliament. At the first, may hear about that, but also finally, we're going to really address the systematic issue that is taking place in Jamaica regarding the shooting. Yesterday, we witnessed the shooting of Buju, and we're going to talk about that. So yes, stay tuned right after the break. We'll be right back. All right, so we see that. So there has been a lot of contention that has been taking place, and so back and through, and essentially what would have happened was that, um, based on according to the People's National Party, they couldn't take it no more. They have been saying that Juliet Holness has been unfair. They have been saying that she has not been fair. She's not giving them the ability to speak. You understand? She has been ignoring them, and it seems very unfair. Honestly speaking, I feel like we need to have an independent speaker. It should not be that we have a speaker that is aligned with a particular party. And Juliet Holness is a member of parliament and a member of the Jamaica Labour Party, the wife of the Prime Minister. And so, yeah, regardless of what you do, people are going to clear foul. You understand? People are going to say you're unfair because no matter what you do, they're going to look at you and say that you're not fair. They'll use it as political football. You understand? I can honestly say that there was some form of disrespect. I recall when Nikisha Burchell said, "Can I get a yam head?" Nikisha Burchell said, "Can I get a yam head?" And so I see somewhat where Mrs. Holness is coming from. The fact that she would have received a lot of disrespect and she would have basically avoided confrontation. She's not a confrontational person. What she did regarding Angela Bomberg, the fact is Angela Bomberg get up and go take up the mace. You understand? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a point where when Angela Bomberg got up, at first Juliet Holness said, "No, that's not a joke. That's not a joke." So I'm believing, and I may be wrong, but I'm believing that that was the first time because when I looked at the video where Angela took up the mace, did it twice. She did it twice actually. So she took it up the first time, and so I believe that was when Juliet Holness said, "That's not a joke." Yeah, so, and then she'd lift it up again, and that was when Juliet said, "Outside." The famous outside, because she got, that is a form of disrespect. You are challenging the speaker. It has a meaning. It is there for a purpose, for a reason. So Juliet, not Juliet, Angela Bromberg getting up and doing that, you know you would have challenged the speaker. In the first video that I indicated, I said that Juliet was wrong. Not Juliet, Angela was wrong, rather. I did say that Angela was wrong, because you have to think about every action has a reaction, and what did you think would have happened after you took up the mace? And so, when the People's National Party brought back the fact that Edmund Bartlett would have done the same thing several years ago when the Jamaica Labour Party was in opposition, Edmund Bartlett, after lifting up the mace, he would have immediately left the parliament. He would have left the parliament afterwards. He never asked or wait to be told to leave the parliament. He left immediately. I understand that the People's National Party are frustrated, and I'm not going to deny or make it seem as though that what they're experiencing is not true. I will never say that, and I will never do that. Right? But if you're going to protest all the way, you can't have your cake and eat it. And so you take up the mace, and you go back, go sit down. And you make sure you come up multiple times. Of course, anybody will be frustrated. So if it is that you wanted to send a message and in a form of protest, you take up the mace and then you leave. You don't take up the mace and then. You understand? You take up the mace and then you leave. However, I will say this. I was living for her response.
However, I respect my colleagues. But there's a line I draw. If I come before you and every day you disrespect me.
That's right.
Them say one day the bucket bottom I go drop out. And when it drops out, and I stand here today very, very clear, when it drops out, those who have the authority to punish, go ahead. Go ahead. History will absolve. I do it not just for myself. I do it for those others who will come behind us and will remember that in this house we are all to be treated equally. That in this house, when we have certain positions, we put aside our political partisanship. And if we can't, we step aside from the position that requires it. I believe this goes to the heart of our democracy. Democracy is not just about you wielding a sword. It is also about how you reach across the aisle and make accommodations and come to decisions to the benefit of all. I am tired of sitting here, pressing my mic, asking to be to say something, and you don't have even the decency of listening and then saying no. You are, none of us here, none is clairvoyant. None of you live in my head. And therefore, even though you think you know me well, you do not know what I am going to say when I press my mic. Give me the courtesy. Accord me the respect as an elected member of this house to be heard. You then have the opportunity to determine whether it is okay or not for me to go ahead. I stand here as a representative of the people of Southwest St. Andrews. I come from the traditions of Portia Lucretia Simpson.
Angela Brownberg's response was top. As much as I can say she was wrong, I loved it. I loved her response. I loved the response. What she said, Portia Lucretia. I think that was the real. I was like, yes, I'm for this, and I see where they're coming from. I see, the fact that, as she said, dare to buck the system, and we would not be here because we dare to buck the system if they never dare to buck the system, rather. And I have a problem with this belief in Jamaica about rules are rules. I have a problem with that because a lot of the times when people make rules, these rules make no sense. There's some rules that, obviously speaking, are supposed to be there. There's some laws that, obviously speaking, I would never disagree with, right? So, for example, the offense against the person's act. Murder is wrong. Everybody can look and say murder is wrong, and so you're supposed to go to prison or get life in prison. for that, there's a sanction for everybody. Understand that. You understand? Rules are there for a reason. So I am not against the concept of rules, but some of the times people set up rules not because it is to enforce a sense of order. It is some of the times people set up rules to belittle, to make less than, to divide, to put a set of persons at a disadvantage. You understand? This rules ideology come from high schools because, as you know, different schools have different rules. I don't remember the name of my school where them said they have baby here, right? And I remember this presenter. Oh, I'm a stickler for rules, and rules are rules. Um, and it's giving very Bakram, no, not Bakramasa, but it's giving very slavery mentality. Do you understand? It's giving a sense of slavery mentality. Again, rules are there, but amendments need to take place. Some of the time, if the rule don't make no sense, you need to have amendments. Some of the time, the high schools have rules, and I'm going to get back to the parliament point, right? But in my experience, when I was growing up, a lot of the traditional high schools, the reason they had rules was because, well, some unnecessary rules. A lot of the reasons the traditional high school had some unnecessary rules was not because they wanted to restore order in the school, was because they wanted to seem like they're better than the people. It was a sense of feeling that you're more important than a group of people. It was a sense of trying to make yourself set and apart. And so the more rules you have, the more aristocratic you feel. The more rules you have, the more important you feel. So a lot of these rules weren't from a space of maintaining order and discipline. No, a lot of these rules was because you want to feel important. And so, in Parliament, some of these rules, again, was for the sake of segregation. Because they want to feel superior to other schools. It's not because of maintaining order in schools. You understand? So the ideology of rules are rules. No, some of the times the rules are a form of discrimination, and you should be able to decipher between the two. You understand? So, and I'm going to go over to the Nikisha Bircher situation as well. So, regarding the Angela Bromberg response, I love that response. Even though Angela was wrong, I genuinely loved her response. I genuinely loved that response. I was living for that response. And so I see why you had to fight for your seat at the table. I see why you had to do what you had to do, even though you were wrong. And I had accepted the fact that she was wrong, right? So it's not a case of, I think what happens is we only look at the fact that you're wrong, and we don't look at the reason why you did what you did. And so you have to look at it from various angles, and that is one of the angles you have to look at. Why did the person do what they did? You understand? And could it be avoided? Right? Could whatever they did that was wrong, could that be avoided? You understand? So that is something that we have to look into as well. But yes, I genuinely love Angela Bromberg's response. I am here for it. It was a very strong and powerful response. And again, I'm not invalidating anybody's side, anybody's experience. Miss Holness would have indicated that she has been disrespected repeatedly.
This was not the first occasion on which the conduct of this nature has tested the authority of the chair by the same member. On or around March 5th, 2026, the member rose from her seat and boisterously declared that you want me to behave like a virago, me I go behave like a virago, end quote. Restraint was exercised in the hope that the matter would not be repeated. no action was taken. But restraint must never be mistaken for permission. Patience must never be mistaken for weakness. And silence must never be mistaken for acceptance. The conduct displayed last Tuesday was absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable by the member, the leader of the opposition who led the stand-up, and the opposition. It was unacceptable not because of who occupied the chair, but because of what the chair represents. It is unacceptable because it undermines the very order of the House, the dignity of the parliamentary proceedings, and the respect due to the institution through which the people's business is conducted.
Okay, and Angela Bombrook has stated that she's not giving them the opportunity. I feel like a conversation needs to take place, needs to be had, and I feel like there needs to be a sense of respectability. I feel like the opposition also needs to be able to utilize the standing order more often. So stick to the standing order as well. So if it is that you feel that you're not being fairly treated, refer back to the standing order to point out where the speaker is not doing what she's supposed to do, because at the end of the day, regardless of her political affiliation, the standing order is the standing order. The rules of the House is the rules of the House, and if it is that you are found in breach of the rules, then regardless of what your intent of doing it, you're still wrong. And I think that's what people are looking at. If the speaker is wrong, you need to point it out, and how you do so, you refer to the standing orders of the parliament, right? So if it is that she is treating the government members of parliament unfairly or with a sense of bias, refer back to the standing order. If it is that she's too harsh on you, do the compare and contrast analysis and say this is the standard. At the end of the day, she cannot. If she's wrong, there'll be no ambiguity. But then you doing what you're doing, it's not the best way. You understand? Yeah, so that's what I have to say regarding that. Now, regarding Nikisha Burchell's, she said two things. What I'm going to do, again, we have the videos to prove. So I will play the videos and then I will get back to you.
Some stations get hefty tax write-offs and others are struggling. And this raises important questions about public communication governance and the independence of media that must make you feel uncomfortable. Because government today, communication spending has become Madam Speaker, there may have some protection, please, from the leader of government business acting.
Are you standing?
Point of order.
Is there?
Madam Speaker,
Standing order.
on a point of order. A very serious allegation was made by the Speaker. The Speaker said that a media house, the presenter said a media house was the beneficiary of massive tax write-offs. She said a media house was the beneficiary of massive tax write-offs. Madam Speaker, I would like the Speaker to be clear, since she is presenter, to establish which media house has been the beneficiary of massive tax write-offs. Because, Madam Speaker, she has come to the House and cast a cloud over the entire media in Jamaica that they are benefiting from tax write-offs from the government, and there is no fact about it, and I needed to rule.
Members, because I'm allowing the member to go ahead. The question raised as a point of order in respect of an allegation made against a class of individuals or entity, which would be media houses. And in fact, if one is being claimed, no name was called, and therefore I'm ruling that the member continue, as the member would not have. You may begin.
Madam Speaker, me get up this afternoon to make my first sectoral speech for my portfolio.
Hold on. Standing orders. And I think you are fully aware. And if I have to stop you again during your presentation, you will not get any additional time. No, and she knows. Standing order 6, page 3.
When I speak to Madam Speaker, Leroy, allow me to speak. A leader. Madam Speaker, perhaps I should abandon that attempt to use our local language, because I have been reminded of the linguistic conventions of this honorable House. Because maybe there is no more fitting way to begin a presentation on culture than to speak briefly in the language understood by the overwhelming majority of Jamaican people.
Wonderful. All right, then. So first things first, the Patois in the Parliament, and we spoke about this in terms of the rules. And if memory serves me correctly, there was also an instance where Alanda Teleralang was speaking Spanish. And so, because he was speaking Spanish, when name again? I can't remember his name. Oh my gosh. Everald Warmington came up and said, point of order, point of order. Right? No, we're supposed to only be speaking English. I believe the root of that rule, though, that came, the ideology of English. Can't remember, you know. Jamaica is from the British. And so we adopted a lot of our laws from the British. Now, yes, a lot of changes would have taken place, but we are still under the Westminster style of ruling. And so Patois was around back then, right? In how much years ago we get independence? 60 something years. Before that, there was the Patois. And so, right, even though black people were allowed, even though slavery was abolished and black people were allowed to be a part of parliament and to be a part of government, to be members of parliaments, the English only rule was a means of distinguishing the upper class, the elites, from the ghetto. You understand? Distinguishing the important people from the lower class people. Right? It wasn't, because why would you say English only? I understand that we're an English nation, but what form of order is that reinforcing when you speak English only in Parliament? Look into it, right? Because again, the purpose of a rule is to maintain a sense of order. The primary purpose of a rule is to ensure that there is order, right? There is discipline and there is order that is taking place. And I'm curious to know what form of discipline and order, or correction, what form of indiscipline and in order would Patois cause in the Parliament? I'm curious to know, or any other language. And so it goes back to the ideology of when you say rules are rules, Really? Or is it a form of discrimination and feeling that you're important? Some rules weren't created for the purpose of order and discipline. Some rules were created to segregate persons. Some rules were created to make the persons, the enforcers of the rules, feel important. Again, these rules were formulated back 60 odd years ago. I cannot, I know I call a wrong number. I know I say 63 or 64 because I could have 65 and I'm wrong. So I remember how long ago. After 50, me forgot. You've been see with me, right? But let us look into it. What indiscipline would Patois or any other language cause if it is spoken in Parliament? I understand when you're at a call center and they say EOP, English only policy, and the reason they say that is because you're speaking to Americans and you're speaking to English speaking customers, and so why would you speak patois to an English speaking customer? They're not going to understand. So in a situation like that, the order that is required and the discipline that is required is ease of transfer because of ease of doing transaction and business. So when you're working in a call center, they have the EOP policy, so that, which is the English only policy, so that when you're doing the transactions with English speaking customers, they're able to properly understand you. That is the purpose of a rule. And that's a rule that I understand, because again, what's the purpose of me speaking Spanish to an English speaking customer? That makes no sense. You understand? But again, in Jamaica land we love, where yes, English is the official language, but Patois is our mother tongue. And so if I speak Patois to Andrew Holness, if I speak Patois to the Governor General, if I speak Patois to anyone, they will understand me. They will understand me. It's not a case where when I chat around Patois, they might look probably like, where I talk about. No, they will understand because we're all Jamaicans. What was the purpose of excluding of that particular standing order that dictates that we should have an EOP policy in Parliament? And frankly speaking, the members of Parliament have not been following that fully because on multiple occasions they do speak their patois. They may not be having speak the patois in the full and the entirety of the presentation. However, on multiple occasions, because I watch Parliament when the man not there, they're in desk, and when they're ready to chat them patois. You understand? So again, one may look at that as being of being unfairly treated because we have more than one references that we can pull from to say members of Parliament from both the opposition and the governing party have utilized the patois in Parliament and there was no obstruction. How is it that now that she starts to speak her patois and there's obstruction in the Parliament? The standing order rule was enforced. How is it so? So this is another thing we want to look at. Also as well, separate from that, Miss Birchall would have brought to the attention that there has been this thing that the government would have provided funding for particular radio stations. I love how Miss Birchall worked within the rules, and so even though Robert Morgan called a point of order, he could not there wasn't any reprimanding. She could not be reprimanded because she operated within the rules of the house and within the standing order of the house. So regardless of how you feel, she operated within the rules and the standing order. So therefore, you see a smile too, right? Regardless of how you felt, she pointed out something, she operated within the rules, and so it had to be respected. So we see here where the Speaker of the House had to respect the rules and could not be biased. She had to exercise unbiasedness because Miss Burchell was operating within the rules of the standing order of the House. And so that is what is required. If it is that you feel that you are unfairly treated, as I stated previously, operate within the rules of the standing order and utilize it to point out. They can't beat you to that. But again, get up and touch a mace, and then you go back and sit down. You are wrong. And we can't. So I really love how Nikisha Burchell handled herself. And I love the fact that she brought attention, she utilized her platform to bring awareness to really what is taking place in Parliament. You understand? A lot of persons were in opposition for that and they said that she was being manipulative or whatever. No. This needed to be brought to the forefront, because how is it that in Jamaica we can't speak our language? How is that so? And so I fully appreciate the fact that she brought awareness. The speech was lovely. A lot of what she would have said in her in her presentation is what I have. So the Resilient Blueprint 2025 to 2040, the policy document that I wrote, that I submitted to the Office of the Prime Minister, I submitted to the Planning Institute of Jamaica, I submitted it to Ambassador Audrey Marks. A lot of what Miss Burchell had in her presentation, I have too. And so it was like she was preaching gospel, because I was just taken aback and in awe. And I'm saying to myself, why is the government not taking advantage of this? Lisa Hanna has been saying this for years. She talked to black and blue in a parliament. This is not something new. So why is it that the government is moving with a sense of, what is the word? I don't want to say lazy, but they're moving rather slow. They're moving extremely slow. You understand? So we have a problem there. That's another challenge that we need to really address, because the government of Jamaica, if we really want Jamaica to be a sovereign nation, if we really want Jamaica to be able to withstand any hurricane, because when you invest into the digital economy, and not just and brand Jamaica, this is something that is intangible, that no storm can affect. We see what would have happened with Hurricane Melissa and the impact that it would have had on the tourism industry, because these are physical infrastructure. The hotels, the buildings are physical infrastructure that would have been damaged, and so they cannot accommodate anybody because they're spending money now on repairing the hotels. You understand? Because of all of that, they were affected. Whereas when you invest in the digital economy, and as long as you have internet, you have your laptop, you have your cell phone, you have your tablet, the digital economy will always be around, which is a multi-billion-dollar economy, which is going to become a trillion-dollar economy soon. And so everything that Miss Burchell was saying was gospel to my ears. And I hope that the governing Jamaica Labour Party will not look at that and look at it through the lens of politics and not implement it because they want to score political football. Because a lot of the times I feel like the reason governing political parties may not necessarily implement a strategy that the opposition that would have put forward is because they know that the opposition is going to get credit for it, and it's going to make them look bad. And so because of the ego, that is why. But the reality is the Jamaican people have checked out, and the young people of Jamaica are seeking to leave because the Jamaica Labour Party is not speaking the language of the Jamaican people. And to speak the language of the Jamaican people, you have to go where the people are. The young people are a part. We are consumers of the internet. We're not users of the internet. We're not making money. We're not doing it enough. So another thing to look into. All right, on to the next story. Now, with this, now, you know what? I will say this, right? The killing of Buju. So, yesterday, there was a shooting that took place in St. James, in Granville, St. James, and a person by the name of Buju would have been shot. She was in, I believe it's a Voxy. If it's not a Voxy, it's shaped like a Voxy, basically. Now, I have the video. I'm a bit apprehensive of sharing the video, and if I do share the video, I will share just a snippet of it because several years ago I've shared a video portraying violence, and YouTube did take it down. Like, YouTube never make it post, and YouTube threatened me. I say if we do it again, then I go delete my channel. I'm a mess. I'm not even monetized for my channel as yet, and me can't afford fee. You understand? Yeah, me can't afford fee. My channel mash up. I'm not even get monetized and funny as yet. You understand? So, but yes, Buju would have been murdered by the police. We looked at that video, and we can clearly identify. First of all, there is no ambiguity as to what happened. The recording is there. Has been captured, and we see where Buju has been murdered. And so for, I don't want to say years, but for months, I'm going to say since last year specifically, predominantly, there has been a demand for there has been a demand for web body cams. There has been a demand for body cams, and so the Minister of National Security, during his sectoral debate, laughed and cavalierly stated that there have not been the body cams. He rubbished the idea. As a matter of fact, he rubbished the idea and said that was foolish. Why you need to have a body cam? He rubbished the idea, people. He rubbished the idea. And so because of him and because of his negligence, right now, someone is left dead. Because of the negligence of the security minister, someone is left dead. In 2018, there was the Petrojam scandal, and during the Petrojam scandal, persons would have, what should I say? Persons would have called for Dr. Andrew Wheatley to resign because of the Petrojam scandal. Now, mark you, at that juncture, he would have just, or not too long ago, taken office of that particular he would have taken leadership of that particular ministry. And what would have happened also as well was the fact that this has been going on for years. The scandal that took place in Petrojam would have taken place. It didn't start underneath the Jamaica Labour Party. It went as far back as the People's National Party. Members of the People's National Party were calling for his resignation, but then Philip Palwell, the former energy minister, would have been one of them who was calling for his resignation when the corruption stemmed all the way back to his time when he was minister. Why am I saying this? Why am I drawing correlation to this? I'm drawing the correlation to this with what would have taken place with the murder of Buju, because no one was murdered, no one was killed. This was robbery of or misappropriate funds and irregularities, and persons called for the head of Dr. Andrew Wheatley. Persons would crucify him and have him leave. Well, in this situation, there is clear evidence of Horace Chan cavalierly in Parliament laughing and saying that we should not have any body cams. He rubbished the idea of body cams. And because of your negligence, Minister, people are dying. This is not the first time innocent lives has been taken. This is not the first time this has happened. But because I feel like that it is a disrespect to the Jamaican people because you're not a part of it. See, I guarantee you, right, had that video not surfaced where we can take our two eyes and see where the police would have cold-bloodedly murdered Buju right then and there, we would have said that as something she do. And she must involve in something. And that's why she did. I fear a fact why she did. Because this is Jamaica land we love. And this is what we do. Whenever somebody innocent is killed by the police, we don't try to find out information. We don't try to compare and contrast and get more information to understand the full picture. No, we don't do that. It's for them fault. You are the reason why the police killed you. And had it not been for the video, we would have said that. Not we. A lot of persons would have said that. A Buju fault. Why she did. This represents the negligence of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. This represents the negligence of the security minister. And for your negligence, you need to be fired. For your negligence, you need to be removed. For your negligence, you should no longer be the Minister of National Security. Because of your negligence, and this is not the first innocent persons, there are other videos that I'm going to find, and hopefully we can find it and post it. Because there's a video where persons were recording the police, and the police grabbed the phone from them. So not only do you not want the police to wear body cams, but the police also do not want to be recorded. And could it be that the reason you don't want to be recorded is because you don't want to highlight the corruption that is taking place in the Jamaica Constabulary Force right now? Could it be that the reason you don't want you cavalierly were and laughed at the fact that, and that was a form of privilege, by the way. You did it from a place of privilege because you're not involved, you know. And until it happens, to the people out there who love to say that I must something them do, and let me make it clear, right? A lot of persons who the police have killed deserved it. Me now come here and go and like say, oh my gosh, Jamaica, everybody is such a nice person, and we don't have criminals, we don't have wicked criminals, right? A lot of persons, trust me, I agree. Because if you go send them go court, if you go through the rigmarole process and he's a murderer, he's a cold-blooded murderer. No, I am so sorry. You understand? Let me make it clear. I am not saying that everybody who the police interacts with or who the police kills is innocent. That would be a far lie. But what we're seeing now is that there's a major increase in police brutality. There's a major increase of innocent lives that are being killed. Buju protested because I think several days ago somebody was killed by the police and Buju was there to protest the murder of that individual that was killed by the police and then ended up being killed by the police. What does that say? What is the precedent that is saying? Or the message that it was so bad that the Member of Parliament, Marlene Malahoof, was embarrassed when she was speaking and she had to say it doesn't look good. She had to be very careful because she didn't want to upset the government, Jamaica Labour Party. She didn't want to upset her colleagues. But really, actually, the evidence is staring glaringly in your face. It is embarrassing and it does not look good. And the fact is, so I go back to when Dr. Horace Chang was there and he cavalierly laughed in Parliament and denied and said that there will be no video cams or body cams. With all the billions, Dr. Andrew Holness, in his budget presentations, repeatedly, year after year, speaks about how this administration would have increased the budget allocated to the Ministry of National Security. They said that. and that they would have spent north of $100 billion. Yes, the government is spending up to over $100 billion on national security, and so that is why he would have boasted that that is the reason the crime rate has gone up. Okay, fine, may not take that for you, because to be honest with you, I really don't talk much about crime, and this is the first time I'm really talking about crime because this is not my specialty. You understand? But it's just that because the evidence is so glaring. So now you spent $100 billion, Jamaican dollars, on Ministry of National Security, and you don't want to get the webcam to fully modernize it. Could it be that there is some form of corruption that is taking place, and so because there's a lot of corruption that is taking place, you don't want the cameras to be there, so because you don't want to be exposed of the corruption that is taking place? Could it be, and that is also the reason why whenever police is there, they normally fight for try to take up people's phone because they don't want to be recorded, because they don't want to be exposed of the corruption that they are doing? Could it be? It's just a question may I ask. Could it be? At the end of the day, Dr. Harris Chang needs to go. Because of your negligence, people have died. You came from a place of what's that word? Privilege, and because of your negligence, people have died. You need to go. You need to be fired. Thank you very much for another episode of JATalks, guys. And oh wow, yeah. We have a lot of work to do. First of all, before I end, I want to thank everybody because of my last video. I think at the time I was at 160 subscribers, and now as of right now I'm at 228 subscribers. Girl, hello to my additional subscribers, and thank you very much for your unwavering support. It means a lot to me. We need to go to 1,000, because I mean the real you're not monetized until you reach 1,000, right? Cool, right? So subscribing is free. I appreciate everybody that is subscribing, and let me just say something here. We have a lot more in store. Like this channel, there are some things where are gonna come out. You understand? I want to exercise my creativity on this channel, and so I am extremely grateful for everyone who is supporting this channel. I'm extremely grateful for the unwavering love. The video, when I posted the video with the presentation that Nikisha Burchell made, it apparently a lot of persons, there was arguments, there were persons interacting, but you can see that a lot of Jamaicans are hungry for change, and they want transformational leadership, not incremental growth. We want transformational growth, and so this is where my headspace is at, and I'm thankful that everybody is on board with it. So yes, we have more in store. We have more work in store for you, more presentation. I do policies, politics, and current affairs. Thank you very much, and that is it. Always remember, please never forget that your independence is the foundation of your liberation. Walk good, everybody. Walk good, Jamaica.